I was taken into the Shaker home at 5 years of age, and on September 26, 1878. My father was failing in health and was looking for care for his children. My mother died at my birth, and I was one of 4 children. An older sister, 6 years senior, and a brother who died early. Myself, born June 5th, 1873, and a younger brother. My father had consumption. By trade was a carpenter. But his health failing, the doctors said he must work out of doors, so he drove the horse cars for a year and then took his bed, marked, scratched my backs, and mottos that at that time were very much used in the buildings for compensation for care. When I was 5 years of age, he sought a place among the Shakers, as my older sister was already here. And they had agreed not to take any more small children. Sister Mary Whitcher, who was a very broad-minded, kind person, urged the taking. But the leaders still felt that it was not profitable for them to take children so small. And being delicate in health, they felt it would be a good deal of care. But my father, unwilling to be defeated, brought me up and my little brother to spend my sister's birthday. We visited for 3 days, and the result was that Sister Mary came out with the agreement to try me. I was placed in the children's order with other children for care, and a sister who was stopping here from Enfield, Connecticut, took sole care of me for a while. But I lived in the house where the Thompsons are now until I was 13. Then I went out with one of the sisters, and at 16 I went into school as a second teacher to care for more the kindergarten pupils. I was also appointed to help care for the children. I was not able for the heavier work of the home, and so my friends gave me these little appointments to feel that I had a chance and a profitable employment. I returned with the children. I think they was there some time, and at one time I had 10 girls to care for, the care of their house, their singing schools, their Sunday school, and the day school, and looked after them entirely with a younger assistant to help a little with the house. One time I was reported as not going to live. The sisters were very good to me, cared for me. I was taken out of school and spent a whole summer out in the sunshine as much as possible, and I recovered sufficiently to make sure of life for a while. And I kept my teaching practice for about 23 terms. Our school was divided with the girls at school from May to the latter part of August, and the boys went into school from November to March. And I was connected more or less with the girls' school for about 23 terms. we taught just a common school education. It was ungraded school, but our experience was that the teaching was so thorough and careful that when the children left us, they were often promoted a year because of the thoroughness of their education, and it was quite a recommend to us. I left the school. At the time, I was appointed as the Associate Eldress. I cannot give the year. And for a great many years, I served there, and later, at the death of Eldress Dorothea Cochran and Jenny Fish, who had been officiating, I was appointed the first Eldress here at Canterbury. We taught the children during the vacations to do housework, sewing, the boys' farm work, and they were instructed in general housekeeping. Not that they were so helpful always, but it gave them an education along those lines. We let them go out with the sisters and learn to do different things, and the childhood of the children among the Shakers, I think, was very happy. The divergences that were given and the pleasures. We usually went to ride through the winter in a 4-seated sleigh drawn by brisk horses and one of the brethren. They had a summer outing of a day at some pleasant spot, and their frequent visits to the pond for supper and picnics and various intermissions upon their work made very pleasant divergences for them. In all things, we tried to teach them to be good boys and girls, honest, obedient, kind, and peaceful, and to respect and regard those who had the care of them. They attended the meetings of the church, and our main instruction along the line of Shakerism was what they absorbed by being with different sisters or brothers, or by attending the church services. They were free to the religious books, but we found that so many of them left when they had reached age that we felt that it was better to give them a general education than specifically on the church religion. Let them absorb what they could, and as they grew older, they would incline to follow with us in all methods of instruction. The Shaker teachers in the school never left the children to play at recess alone. They always inspected it. And we were so in the home that they could come home for their meals, and they were cared for if they were sick or needed care. They had the utmost tender affection given them. Our school was for recent years, more recent years, I'd say perhaps the last 50 years, was under the care of the town. I mean that the committee, the superintendent, visited the school and sanctioned whatever the school was doing, and the work was superintended. At one time, Sister Jessie Evans and I, who were the current teachers, were called to the institute to read a paper. And twice we did that, a paper originating with us as the teachers. I mentioned before that Sister Mary Whitcher was responsible for accepting me into the Shaker home, and she proved a very dear and efficient friend to me all through my growing days. I had other friends, and Eldress Dorothy Durgin, who was the leader of the family for many years, had a great influence in instructing the young people in a way that made them dependable and useful, and created in them a desire for the best things. She was very influential and magnetic and very spiritually minded. One of the things that I remember very distinctly is in her talking with me once about something that I had done that was not right, and she convinced me so that I felt very sorry, and in asking forgiveness, she took me by the hand and led me to the west window. It was in February, and a most glorious sunset was on. And she pointed up the excellence and the majesty of God's presence in the world, and that it was the duty of us all to honor that glory and majesty, and to copy in our lives the best and most perfect things that God represented. It was a very soulful occasion and left an indelible impression upon me. And I think it had quite an influence upon my life afterwards. Another instructor was Eldress Dorothea Cochrane, who was her associate and in charge of the young people. She was a Scotch lady, came over from Scotland when she was 13 years of age, and she was a very excellent guide to the young people. And she talked with us and instructed us, and in our troubles and difficulties we always found a friend in applying to her that set us right. Among the brethren who were particularly interested in the benefit and education and prosperity of growing minds, both boys and girls, was Elder Henry Bliss, a splendid representative of intellect and religion. And he often gave us the wise counsel that helped us onto a right track. We also had Elder Benjamin Smith, who had grown up in the home. He had a sister who was sent to Maine as one of the ministry, and he was very skillful with his hands, did beautiful carpentry work, as also did Elder Henry Bliss. I was called into position other than as a teacher on February 2nd, 1913, when I was made the Associate Eldress with Sister Jenny Fish. At her demise, I was appointed Senior Eldress in October 1918. In February 1946, I was appointed as a member of the parent ministry in charge of all the societies. Later, I was appointed trustee in May 1946 for Canterbury, taking the place of Sister Josephine Wilson, who was disabled and soon passed away. After Sister Frances Hall of Pittsfield and Hancock passed away, I was appointed trustee there, which I have held until the selling of the place last October. But I still continue trips there to help in the ways I can to give them the knowledge of the place. But as a trustee, I'm no longer needed. As an eldress, my duties are to meet members with the difficulties that arise and home arrangements that may need a little alteration, talk it over with the members and help them to straighten a difficulty out. In my administration as an Eldress, I would be supposed to answer to any changes that we made in our agreements. There are standard rules that belong to the society that we call authorized. There are agreements which we make that pertain to temporal matters or adjustments that last until there is some other need requires a change. But we're very nicely planned as an order, because while the trustees have the care of the property and the money and the lands, the Eldresses are supposed to look after the members and to agree with ministry and trustees and members as to any alterations that we make. And while we are appointed to sit in trusts, it doesn't make us ever beyond the standard of a brother and sister in the home. We are members just the same, and while we have certain responsibilities and must be faithful to our trust, we are still of the membership, and we never forget that we are interested in all the lines of work and achievement in the family, and interested and corroborate and associate with the members with that brotherly or sisterly love and friendship which makes us all one. A leadership is not an appointment of the standard higher than others, only as it gives us certain duties to do. We're all still members, and there's no high, no low, no one that excludes themselves from work unless physical disability requires it.